Hey guys, hey guys, MrPokke here. So today is gonna be a quick little video on should we be putting for Lyn, the guide to Lyn, should we be putting the Arcana, her performances in PvE as well as PvP, how do you build her, etc, etc, right? So without further ado, bada boom bada bing, really quickly, as of right now, the very first thing that y'all should know before y'all pull in is if I kinda can divert your attention to this right here. We have a teaser. I am not too sure if Fei Xiao is going to be getting this, but Fei is the unit coming after Lyn. Okay, I sincerely doubt they are gonna be including this to a kit, because if this comes to Fei's kit, it will actually destroy PvP. And I think it's a little bit too early to completely invalidate preemptive guard when Haley just came out like last banner. So like this is the unit after Lyn. So before you even consider on what Lyn does, personally speaking, as somebody that I main PvP, right? I'm the global rank 2 player in the entire global server. I play against KRJP like almost every other day. Fei looks way more appealing to me, purely from the perspective of her having the potential to have this, as well as the dev saying she has evade counters, right? They already said that she has evade counters. So from that perspective alone, I am slightly leaning towards Fei, and also she really reminds me of Jingliu, Fei Xiao, Akron, some of my favorite units in another game I played, which is gonna be Honki's Starbucks, right? So with that being established, Lyn is essentially a striker that really plays very similarly to Red Charlotte, right? Base Charlotte, right? So they are both almost the exact utility when it comes to PvP, but in PvE stages, she will fall under the grounds of like a green support, where she will give your entire team a team-wide crit damage buff if you're gonna be green, right? So taking a look into the overall kit right here, the passive, and I'm guessing since we're gonna be at this point, should we be putting for Lyn's dupes? Personally speaking, hell fucking no. I don't think this is gonna be worth it whatsoever. If she was gonna be a more universal unit that you can use her in PvE and PvP, like for example, Rosaria, right? Especially because you can redeem a copy of Rosaria with 200 PD, I will go for it. But Lyn's use is really quite niche, where your number one, the increment is like super small, right? So you get this additional 5% attack, goes up to 15%, which is the exact same as Rosaria, and it scales up from your base attack from 10%, because this is a max that's at 5, into 20%. So you gain like 10% more attack at max dupes, which I would say it really changes very little. And if you are not too impatient, you could just wait for her to come into the standard banner, and eventually if you lose to her in your like standard pools, great, right? But I would not go out of my way to get her. I'm just gonna be stopping at E1 because I somehow got an additional copy, my first like 10 pool, so either what I do. That being said though, this is slightly different for the Arcana, which I'm saying for the later portion, right? Her base kit essentially, if you want to play her like Charlotte, S2 into S3, she'll have a big DPS burst, single target. If you want to play her in PvE with your mono green team, you will S3 into S2, which will give you the crit damage buff, right? You will give the crit damage buff to all green units. Or you could also play her as a single target burst DPS with S2 into S3. Majority of the time, I would say you're most likely going to be doing S2 into S3, because this deals way more damage, because on top of the additional crit damage, or rather not crit damage increase, right, you're gonna be getting attack up as well as bright mood. So these two combined is a 50% attack buff on top of your personal attack buff, on top of the pretty, I guess not that crazy of a multiplier, but if you have a good enough build, you should be able to just one-shot any squishy targets, right? So in PvP, that is pretty much going to be using it. And for example, right, I actually have this little screenshot right here. It's not a screenshot, but it's like a match history. I lost to this guy. This guy's, and you can see, I use Roberta, right? Because Roberta is supposed to be a natural counter to Lyn, because both her S2 and S3 is full AoE, right? They're full AoE. Now, this guy's Lyn, with this build, she one-shotted my Roberta, which is fucking crazy. So the way that this works is, if Roberta gets hit by AoE, you will counter, right? You'll do a counter, so you hit Lyn. This counter cannot one-shot Lyn, but it is an action gauge increase, right? An action value increase. So you get pushed up. So Roberta would say 100% AV, usually if you hit in the first turn. But Lyn is not AV, right? This is extra turn, right? This is extra turn, which means that if theoretically speaking, your Lyn is built good enough, you can just ignore Roberta completely, cast this S2, and one-shot Roberta with S3 if you have enough damage. So this KR Lyn definitely had enough damage, and she straight up just one-shot my Roberta, even though she was supposed to be a direct counter, right? So something to consider if you're using her PvP, she can be a very, very interesting pick if you have her at a decent enough build. And on top of that, most of the builds that I'm being seeing right now on how do you build Lyn is a high-speed build on 4-piece inside, which is crit rate. Because Lyn, unlike a base Charlotte, she does not have self-crit. So you really, really want to give her an additional crit rate. Otherwise, she's just going to miss and you're going to deal no damage, right? So that is pretty much how that is going to be rolling. With regards to the skill priority, I would mainly just stick with... if you can just start out at nothing, you could just honestly just leave roll at like 366. But you don't really even need the levels that much because there's no cooldown. Cooldown. It is purely just damage. So if you play her a lot, you can bring up a little bit higher. But if you don't really want to play her that much, it actually changes completely. It just simply deal way more damage, right? So that is gonna be that. Journey wise, it is just like any other DPS journey, so not too much to talk about, right? Give her crit rate, give her crit damage, right? I personally run AX for any DPS, especially for DPS with extra turns, because you can stack this on like to 16% immediately, so that's fine. 4-piece crit into 2-piece valor. This is also very, very standard. Mine is like a little bit slow. I need to get it to 200-ish, but that's like end game KR level build, so don't really have to worry about it. At least 85% crit rate, otherwise if you miss a crit, it's like it's over. Then Riz is Riz, and then outfit, there's no outfit. So that is pretty much Rin's base kit, right? With regards to the Arcana, now this is like way, way, way more interesting. All right. Lyn's Arcana is the first ever Arcana that potentially competes with the Charlotte Arcana. Specifically, this right here, right? This is the reason why the Charlotte Arcana has been used so many times, because it was the only Arcana in the whole game that gave you HP. And literally every single unit in this game runs Charlotte Arcana. It is that good, because HP is just HP, right? So with the introduction of Lyn's Arcana, you actually have a direct competition with Charlotte. So the question really is, should you pull on this Arcana, right? And the answer is honestly very, very simple. If you're a free-to-play and you already own a Charlotte Arcana, right? You already have this, then no, it's not worth it. Because I initially thought that this Arcana was going to be STR, right? It was going to be a power card, but it is not, right? It's an endurance card. So if this was actually a power card, it will be a must pull. Because you can essentially replace the HP card for Charlotte, and your DPS decks can run 4 strength cards, which will make your points a lot higher, especially your PPs. But because this is endurance, you are still not going to be doing strength training. So the main selling point is not going to be as high as compared to if she was a strength card. Number 2, both of them have like a pretty decent effect. So for example, Lyn's very first event gives you mood up. Alright, so it saves you like 1 turn of rest if you're going to be doing the 30 gold. But for Charlotte's Arcana, it is not as good as mood up. It is just a very slight stamina increase. Right, I think it was like 10 stamina. So in terms of value, right, in terms of the maximum bang for buck, Lyn is slightly better, but not better to the point where I would risk my pools as a free-to-play, right, as a free-to-play. Okay, also on top of that, this talent of attack and talent of life, 3% is an inheritable skill. So if you were to give this to your parent runs in starsavior, you could potentially get these talents and pass them down to your future generations. But Charlotte doesn't have that. So in that sense, you could also say, even for like parent farming, this is really good. But a problem with parent farming in starsavior is that there simply isn't enough of the journey tickets to even warrant slamming a good parent. Because number 1, even if you were to get a good parent, the skills you get from your journeys are not guaranteed. So if you were to, let's just say, you get a card like this, right? You have a sense of insight as well as skill speed. You're not even guaranteed to get these in your parent runs. So the amount of journey tickets you will spend to get this is probably really, really high, especially with the right base stat. And then to get an ace run with the stats that you have here, it is even lower. So in that sense, you don't really need to worry about it by that much, and especially once again from a free-to-play perspective. But if you are gonna be a whale, right? If you're gonna be a spender and if you want to be competitive, I would get this light cone simply because of the fact that you can get more PBs. So you're gonna be able to essentially gain more value from Lyn, because it indirectly, like when you train for your defense, right, it gives you more strength as well. So it makes training a little bit easier as compared to a DPS, where if you were to train HP training, right, your vitality training, you don't gain any strength. So this is slightly better so that you could squeeze out a little bit more trainings on your hit as well as Epheris. Then you can basically get a slightly better journey. Also, the passive over here, you get a free passive stat gain every single time you train. So if you can afford it, I would go for it. If you cannot afford it, I would honestly say for Faith. Because for like I showed you guys just now, right? Face Kit looks really, really fucking good. This is the boss that you will face in the event. Okay, actually, you know what? I'll just show you face boss right now, because I think this will be quite relevant to the things that are gonna be coming in the future. So essentially, you can fight a face boss on the second story stage, right? I think it's here if I'm not mistaken. Let me skip this real quick. Oh! Tell me that's not phase out, guys. Tell me that's not phase out Aggron. It's literally phase out and Aggron combined to one. Whoa! Holy! Alright, so that's Lyn's competition, guys. This is Lyn's competition. Alright, so before y'all go thinking of she'll be putting Lyn, she'll be putting the card, this is what's coming next. Personally, for me, she's gonna be my MLB, bro. She reminds me too much of Fei Xiao to not be an MLB. So I'm definitely gonna be putting. And her passive literally looks fucking insane. 50% evasion for free. I'm not sure if this is gonna be the exact same kit when she eventually comes out, because this is a boss fight, so it's probably not the exact same. But 50% evasion. If you guys play Epic 7, there's this unit called Afternoon Soak Flan. So if you know what I'm talking about, then this might be along that line. As if it's not as crazy as Afternoon so far, right? She doesn't have guaranteed crit, but 50% evasion is still 50% evasion, right? And also, bro, I don't think I need to say why this changes everything, but this might change everything, right? So from my perspective, I really have a lot of high hopes for Fei Xiao. And that is why I would say that Lyn's overall pool value for the unit as well as the card, it is not that crazy for me. So with that out of the way, before we move on, like the RT analysis on how she works, generally where you would be using Lyn if you were to get her, right? So when you really pull her, you pull everything. The best place for Lyn right now, as of this current moment, is gonna be Guild War, right? Surprise, surprise, they launched a Guild War season where they have a shield environment, guys. Do you have a Honkai Star Rail? Yeah, they have a shield environment, right? This guy is weak to green. And the best buff is for a striker, right? So right now, you can take a look at my own battle log, right? I full auto with Lyn. I just press skip, bada boom, bada bing, done. It's that easy, right? She is perfectly designed for this Guild War. So if you're like a Guild War sweat, especially if you're going to be doing for 3 teams, she will be an excellent addition. Especially if you run like multiple AoEs, she'll be super good. So that's use case number 1. Use case number 2, I'm guessing this will eventually happen coming in the future. It's probably going to be Cosmo Gate, right? So Cosmo Gate is also very similar to MOC, where they are also going to be having shield environments, right? And I wouldn't be too surprised if they eventually have a shield environment specifically for Lyn, since she's a new unit, right? So they have a shield environment for Zarya. They have a shield environments for Hilde. So this will most likely be coming for Faye as well as Lyn in the future. So if you're competing for the leaderboards in Cosmo Gate, you're probably going to be able to see that as well. Aside from that, your operation, specifically as of where I'm right now, I'm at 25-9. Lyn is really good in Chapter 25 because the entirety of Chapter 25 is weak to water, right? Is weak to green. So running Lyn here, it can give you quite a substantial advantage for someone that doesn't have any green units. And by the time you reach Chapter 23++, your CP is not going to change that much anymore, because you're going to be closing to the gap, right? I'm already maxed out at 200. So because of that, you really want to get on element units to go up against specific matchups in PvE content. So that's when Lyn can definitely also give you a hand. And speaking about PvE, there's one last stage, which is going to be the Hunt Quest. She is not perfect, right? I don't think she's perfect, but she's really good for Arctic Assault, because if you were to fight the end game level of Arctic Assault, right, if you did look passive, right, you literally, number one, have the buffs. And Lyn has buffs for free. So you will definitely eventually overcome this AV push with Lyn. And number two, where is it? You have to run star units. Like, this is non-negotiable, by the way. If you do not run star units in the hunt domain, you don't clear. So you literally must run mono star, especially when the difficulty goes up to like all the way down, right? So this is non-negotiable. So from these few areas, I would say Lyn will give you really, really good value, specifically on the PvE side, right? Now we can just move on into the last segment, which is basically my favorite segment, and that is going to be Gauntlet, right? PvP. I have never, ever seen Lyn in a defense format in my entire life. No one ever used Lyn. The most common setup in Arena is still Welt's Ashura into a Rosaria. Generally, they'll run an Emily and the Hill. Or whatever I'm running, it is like the best bets. And Lyn doesn't change that. So you're probably not a user in Arena. You could try cleaving. So for example, if I see a team like this, right? 176. Okay, this team looks pretty cleavable, right? So if I didn't build my Dana, for example, right? I could just swap this out for a Lyn, and I am 99% sure I win this. If I lose this, I will lose a shit ton of aura. But I'm just gonna win this immediately to prove my point. Please win this. Thank you, right? So that's what I mean, right? If you are gonna use Lyn as a cleaver, she'll work. Because she basically acts as that burst DPS cleave alongside your other cleave units. But you still need to have your core units like your Welt's Ashura, your Rosaria, Luna, to just one-shot these kind of defenses, assuming that your Welt's outspeeds, right? So that is the use case for Arena. Okay, final segment. Is it worth farming this treasure? Okay, I'll talk about it in just a little bit. PvP. I'll just show you guys a couple of my matches that I've had as the global rank 2, literally global rank 2, by the way. I think the other guy, he's been chilling because I have not played RTA for like a very long time because this game's RTA makes me want to jump off in game. Okay, let's just go all the way back now, right? Generally speaking, in RTA, you can see the format is very similar, right? It is almost the exact same. You are going to, okay, let's just say for example, right? You are always going to be either banning or first picking a defender. No exceptions. This is always happening, right? And then after you get a defender, you start drafting your speed, then your DPS. There's like the format for every single RDA made so far. So if you want to use Lyn, there's no way you can run Lyn as a early pick because it means you lose access to either your defenders or your speed, your bridge, which is going to be Welt, Sarah, and like any other like fast units like Carmen, right? So the pick priority for a DPS, not just Lyn, is always going to be inherently quite low because there are way more important things to draft in RTA. So in that sense, she is not going to be the end all be all. Number two, Lyn in RTA, unless you have a Lyn that's built like this guy, right? This guy is an insane fucking Lyn that literally one-shot my Roberta. If your Lyn cannot reach this level of damage, you are very, very easily countered by Roberta. And even if you can one-shot Roberta, there's always that 20% because you're going to be running S2 into S3, right? If your S3 gets blocked by a defender, you lose immediately. You will legit, because you push down my Roberta, thinking you can one-shot her. If you don't one-shot this, you lose. So even after picking Lyn, the potential of you losing that edge in a DPS race is very, very, very high. It's quite risky, especially in an environment where preemptive guard is like everywhere, right? Another example that if you want to draft Lyn, okay, shout out to Verluna from E1T. I love Verluna, but bro, we were just limit testing, right? We were limit testing. So we limit tested quite a bit, but you can tell that the limit is not really getting broken so far. I would say generally speaking, right? Generally speaking, the risk of you selecting Lyn ties back into my first point, which is you lose access to your either defenders or your bridge, which is the fast units. And for Lyn to actually take place, okay, for example, right, yeah, this match, if you want your Lyn to actually win, you have to come up with a way which will disable my units from killing Lyn. So in this match right here, we drafted this something like this. Essentially what happened is that the Charlotte, I believe, one-shotted my bell. So I lost a significant chunk of my damage. And my Emily couldn't activate S3 because Roberta was there to counter. So from this point on, Lyn is already on element against both Carmen and Emily. So from this, she will deal a lot of damage from a 4v3 perspective. But this is not even because of Lyn. It is because he drafted a Charlotte that one-shotted my only DPS, right? So there's a few scenarios I can think of that either you one-shot the Roberta if they counter, or you have a way to disable their DPS and let your Lyn deal more damage, right? So with that out of the way, I think we're gonna come into the end of my overall, before you pull, quick little Lyn guide for both our unit as well as our Arcana. Let me know, oh my god. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Word of the day is going to be Face Sale is coming. Join this, join this, join. Use code BO, your damage off gamers after all the best, guys. See you guys next time. Thank you.